1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Alright, let's do this. One, two, 1, 2. Test, we're on. Sweet. Let me just have a little. Microphone's working, camera's working, all that stuff. Okay. Hey, welcome to the podcast on the live stream of politics, culture, and some other shit. Hope yous are all well. Happy Christmas, by the way. I've got myself a nice wee dark and stormy here. Hopefully you can hear the very groovy. I'll just leave my theme tune on in the background now. Here. See the ice rattling around in the glass? So a dark and stormy is a dark rum with ginger beer, ice and lime, and Angostura bitters. There's no Angostura bitters in it, although we do have Angostura bitters, but I haven't put them in. Hope you're well. If you're going to join me live, head over to the YouTube, where I will be reviewing my year in podcasts and live streams, which I still haven't got right. I can't figure the fucking tech out. I look back at some of the videos and they look like they've been filmed through a Tupperware lens, and they break my fucking heart, and I don't know how to fix them. And I've tried, but I can't do it. So, if you want to come over to the YouTube and say hello to me, that would be cool. Well, if you're listening to this now, you know, that's what we're doing. But if not, you can catch up on the podcast when I upload it tomorrow. So, hope you're well. I'm not able to do these just as often as I was. I got doing them regularly, didn't I? And then I had to go and get a job. So I'm a delivery man now. I drive a van and deliver things. And I like it. I actually like it. I don't mind it at all. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it. I thought I was going to moan a lot and complain that I'm not a full-time musician anymore. But I'm not getting on like that. I've sort of, I'm how do I put it? I'm going into it with a certain attitude, I think, and I've just determined, because I'm going to have to do it for the foreseeable, and I don't want to be miserable and complaining while I'm doing it, and I just can't be, because I just don't want to. It just makes something, you know. At the end of the day, I've wanted to be a musician all my life, from I was a child, from I was a small child, and I've had that taken from me through no fault of my own. I'm still a musician, of course, but I'm not a full-time. It's not how I earn my living. So I'm doing something else, and it might be me now for forever. So I'm not going to complain about it, and it's good. I'll tell you what's good about it. So I'm not telling you who I'm driving for, because it's a big company, and apparently if you mention them, they do scan social media and all that shit. And they do scan social media, and if you mention them, they'll, you know, and I'm not sure that they'll want they'll be very happy if they know they've got a Marxist working for them. Yeah, so I won't mention who they are, but I'll tell you, the people that I work with are fantastic. They're lovely people, really nice. The guys, the bosses and stuff, they're really cool. You couldn't annoy them, and they're just class people, I think. I'm just in, so I don't really know, but so that's good. What else? Sometimes I get to some people are elderly and disabled and infirmed and things like that, and you get to help them, and that's nice. That's rewarding. And kids come out, and they help you and whatever, and that's class too. And with running up to Christmas and stuff, they're all very excited. So I'm trying to make the most out of it. You know what I mean? Fuck it, it is what it is. I'm there now. I've got no choice, so I may as well try and enjoy it. And we had a European tour booked for March, basically, and we've had to cancel it. We've had to pull out of it because looks like the COVID restrictions are coming in place. It's rolling across Europe. Different things are happening, and it may all have been off by then, and it may all have been doable by then. But we can't live like that. It's the uncertainty, you see. It's the uncertainty. You can't plan in this environment, and it's fucking pure hell. It is absolute torture. So I phoned Chris up the other day, and I just pulled it. I says, listen, I can't do this because I'm doing a wee job here. I don't mind it. It's not the worst thing in the world. I'm going to have to leave it to go on the tour, and I don't know if I'm going to get on another tour after that. And it's too much. You know, I've done all this all my life. I've gambled all my life, and I've enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. But you need certainty. You definitely need certainty. So, and then it looks like the UK tour is looking dodgy as well. Scotland is bringing in certain restrictions. Wales is bringing in certain restrictions. England looks like it might be bringing in more restrictions in the new year after Christmas, after the fucking big card Boris gets Christmas over him. So, yeah. So there we go. So, but anyway, that's what it is. So I'm working. I'm as I said, I'm enjoying it, and I'm up in the morning. I'm up really early in the mornings, and or I can be working late at night, and it's a different routine, and I'm not used to it. I'm sort of a late riser, and I go to bed late too. That's my my rock and roll life. And that's my normal. So I'm not doing that anymore. And I'm not drinking as much as I used to, which is good. You can't be doing that when you're driving all the time. And I'm it's good. I'm enjoying it. What are you going to do? Fuck it. I'm here now. So I'm going to do a little review of my year. That's what I thought I would do. And I thought I would play you some just little videos. They're not connected, but I've a load of them loaded in, and quite often I never get them. And I always say I'm going to fit this in to what I'm saying, and I didn't get to do these. So I'm just going to flit between my videos. I'm not going to play them. I'm just going to talk about them, and maybe jog your memory if you remember this. So let's do it. Let's get going. The year in review. A year of podcasts, a year of live streams. So, let's see. Where are we going to start? We're going to start. Right. So, the big thing let's go back a year. So, for me in this thing that I'm doing here, this year pretty much started with the release of my album. This one. I remember that. And how excited I was and everything, and you guys were too, and it ended up getting nominated, and that was awesome for a music prize, which I didn't win. Another little drinky poos, thank you very much. Yeah, and that my theme music, that music there that you can hear in the background, should have left that on, is a track from it. I can't remember what it's called. I have to look at the album to see what it's called. Crashes Into the Sun, Part 2. That was it. Yeah, so that was the start of the year for me. And it's pretty much gone downhill ever since. That's not true. That's not true. It's been great. So there was that. That was the first thing. Got to release a video with beautiful Janie and Mickey, my friend Mickey Bartlett. We then did a video after that. So it was around the same time. I think we did it at the end of last year and then released it for just ahead of the album being released. So, and it's all on the YouTube, so you can see it, and it's cool. So we'll jump on the first thing was almost a year ago, just the start of the year, just into the year. I must have took a gap. I must have took a wee break from the live streams or whatever it was, because I've got one here 8 months. I will go from 1 year to 8 months. And it was the European Super League. Remember that? The thing with the footballers. So the Premier League and the top leagues in Europe, and they were going to get the top clubs out of those leagues were going to get together and form their own exclusive little club, like the American sports, where you can't be relegated and all that. And it did not go down well, and is still a stain on those clubs to this day. But sure, we won't talk any more about it. They pulled out. It didn't happen. It's all good. Fan power actually meant something, because people cracked up. I support Liverpool, and they were one of the clubs. Very disappointing, and a very un-Liverpool-y thing to do as well. But I used to have a subscription and everything to their YouTube channel and a couple of things, and I cancelled them all that day. Just cancelled them all. I still get emails back saying, "Oh, we miss you" and all this. And I said, "I bet you fucking do." So I haven't took out those subscriptions since. See, I know it was only a couple of pounds from me, but I bet I wasn't the only one. So the next live stream I did was I got a new guitar, which is this one here, which is a Yamaha. It's really nice, isn't it? So the thing with this one is, this is the cheapest sort of guitar that Yamaha do, and it is the best selling solid body acoustic guitar in the world. Yeah, or not solid body, best selling acoustic guitar in the world. It has a solid top, so this bit at the top is maple rather than plywood, all glued together, you see. So, and I got it straight out of the box, and I did a little video, and I was very excited by it. But you always are when you get a new guitar. It's not a good time to review a guitar when you just get it, because you're always enamored with them. It takes you a while to sort of live with them a bit. So the guitar, the action was too high, so that was fine. That was an easy fix. Brought that down, and since then I got bone nuts, or a bone saddle, bone pegs here, on a bone nut, and it's given it a lovely glassy tone. I don't know if you'd be able to hear it, but yeah, and I got that specifically for these new songs that I'm writing. Well, now I'm a working man, I don't have time. You hear that? Hear that? Can you hear that? There's like a belliness to it. There's a frequency that's one of the songs I'm going to play. I want to play up Sleeve Cullion, but so I got that, and it's rather good. And I can advise. I could recommend it. The only thing is, you would need to get the action taken down. If you don't know how to do that yourself, get someone to do it. It won't cost a lot. If you get a professional to do it, get a wee setup, and you have a great wee guitar. 200 quid or thereabouts for nothing. So onwards. So then I moved on to. Remember, I had a chat with my friend Mick Conlon, the string ninja, the violinist. Do you remember that? Mick's a St. Pauli fan and a Newcastle fan for his sins, and we had a great chat. And that was hopefully, I was hoping to bring on guests and things more regular, and well, we'll get the way that didn't happen. So then the next one was Poots, Palestine and the Protocol. So Edwin Poots, the ex-First Minister of Northern Ireland, something must have been going on in Palestine at the time, but when isn't there something going on in Palestine? And the Northern Ireland Protocol. So I remember it's kind of hard to specifically pick one of these out, because there was so many about the Protocol and Poots, or Protocol and DUP. In fact, the next one was Edwin Poots on Marr, the Andrew Marr show, Royal Hillsborough, and the Irish Language Act. So the Secretary of State at the time had promised that he was going to put the Irish Language Act through legislation, through Parliament, and he didn't. He still hasn't done it. Edwin Poots went on to Andrew Marr and lied, and then Hillsborough, which is a village not far from here, is now Royal Hillsborough. Some people like that. I don't. So, and then there's one here from 6 months ago. Tanks don't work. Israel's Belfast connection and more. Oh, so that was... What was the thing about the tanks? Can anyone remember? It spent money on tanks and they didn't work. Something was wrong with them. Can't remember that one. But Israel's Belfast connection was one of the original... I think the first Prime Minister of Israel was born in Belfast. Yeah, I think that's right. And then one more, and then I'll play you a wee video. Peru, Van Morrison, and some other shit. So Van Morrison went on his anti-lockdown rant. I think he was a bit drunk. He was pissed off, and I don't fucking blame him. I'm pissed off myself, but he did make a bit of an arse out of himself. And Peru, don't know what that was. Something was going on in Peru at the time. Again, when isn't there something going on in Peru at the time? At the minute, in South America, the big news at the minute in South America is Chile has elected a leftist president. Now, I will give you a little heads up. This guy is being portrayed as being a leftist, a socialist. And he's all into equal rights and and all the good stuff that we're all into. But I will say this, and I hope I'm wrong. He's getting an easy ride in the press at the minute, and that's a sure sign that he's a stooge. So if you can't get a bad word said about this man, and he's a leftist, and he's just been made president of Chile, something stinks. It doesn't add up for me. I think this guy is going to end up to be some sort of somebody saying hello in Greek by the look of it on YouTube. I just think something dodgy there. So I don't know. So I wanted to play you a video. Now I'm going to start you with a new one. As I said, I've just thrown all this. I haven't really had time to get anything done for you. But check this out. If you don't know who Joe Brawley is, he's an ex-GAF footballer, which is Irish football. Irish. It's not soccer. It's different. And he did this. He's considered to be quite outspoken in
the South, sort of typical, I suppose, of post-colonial societies where the British would come conquer a society.
He's considered to be quite outspoken, but I love him, and outspoken. Outspoken is another word for when people say things that make you feel uncomfortable. That's
in the South, sort of typical, I suppose, of post-colonial societies where
Joe Brawley is
the British would come conquer a society, and then
as I say, he calls a spade, right? And he does it quite a lot in the south of Ireland. I want to say hello on the YouTube. There's a few people there. So he says it quite a lot. He's on Southern Irish TV because he's from Derry here in the north, Derry thereabouts, the county of Derry for sure, and he's a great advocate for United Ireland, which I obviously am in favour of. So he went on the TV at the weekend, and this little video was doing the rounds. And I want to talk about this because I've been speaking to some people recently, people of a certain age, people closer my age or older, or close to my age, whatever. And whenever we talk about this, about a United Ireland, I tried to say this, something, I've slotted this into the conversation. And just to see what people said, to see their response. And they've all agreed and they've all said the same thing. And what I asked was, or what I implied, or what I suggested, whatever way I put it, was we here in the north, we feel abandoned by the south. And whenever you see, like, there was opinion polls released there 2 weeks ago, a week or two ago, and it was so many people in the south didn't want the United Ireland, or some people didn't want the United Ireland if it meant raising taxes and all this sort of stuff. And that angers me, because what my reflex response is, you've abandoned us. You think we're not Irish. I would say we're more Irish, because we've had to fight to cling to our Irishness. We've had to hang on to it. You know what I mean? And I've said that to a few people, just normal, nice, normal normies, and just to see what they said. And they all sort of, yeah, I agree, you know, it's cool. So, here's the Joe Brawley clip. Have a listen to this, tell me what you think. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching it, and if you're listening to it, you should be able to hear it on your podcast.
In the South, sort of typical, I suppose, of, you know, post-colonial societies, where the British would come conquer a society, and then part of it would get its freedom, the South. And then they sit on their hands as the horrors unfold in the place that's still not free. And then there's a feeling of embarrassment almost, like, and, you know, you saw this whole orthodoxy started in the South, that really it was the nationalists in the North who were to blame. It was the Catholics and the nationalists, you know, who were to blame for what happened. You know, if they had just behaved themselves and not worried about civil rights and not taken to the gun, you know, that everything would have been fine. And, you know, completely ignoring the realities of soldiers just coming in and machine gunning people to death and then walking away. I mean, Robert McCluskey was beaten to death in the door of Hassan's draper shop in Dungiven. Lost Lives has it as the first death of the Troubles. Robert John was about 67, he was a farmer, he was a bachelor, he was coming in to do his groceries, and he would get a glass of stout in McGrannell's, and he'd get his hair cut in Sean Doran's. And he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he was beaten to death by the police in the doorway of Hassan's. Nobody was ever charged, nobody was ever questioned about it. He was buried, that was the end of it. Bloody Sunday, you know, it took 30 years when most of the boys were dead and nobody was prosecuted, you know, for them to say, oh, well, look, we're terribly sorry about that. You know, shouldn't have shot all those people. The Ballymurphy massacre, you know, it's all over the place. I mean, a good friend of mine, John Finnegan, his dad was just assassinated. His dad was a solicitor, you know, he was machine gunned to death. And there's not a day goes by that John doesn't, you know, isn't obsessed as a 40-year-old man. It happened when he was 6 or 7, obsessed with a tribunal, a public inquiry into this. And so there was a huge amount of suffering in the North, and it just wasn't the lived experience of people in the South. People get on with their own lives. They've a lot to be worried about. You know, is she going to leave me? You know, can I get that job? Christ, am I going to lose my job? You know, you've got your senior championship team playing. You know, you have to go to the matches. You know, you had a different life from us, and I understand that entirely. Yeah. But it is important to have a true perspective on it, and I think it would do no harm if the schools in the South were taught properly about what happened in the North. From both sides. From both sides.
So there we go. What do I think of that? Joe Brawley said that, and it was specifically the bit at the start. I'll just play it for you again. Do you hear?
The South, sort of typical, I suppose, of, you know, post-colonial societies, where the British would come conquer a society, and then part of it would get its freedom, the South. And then they sit on their hands as the horrors unfold in the place that's still not free. And then there's a feeling of embarrassment almost, like, and, you know, you saw this whole orthodoxy started in the South, that really it was the nationalists in the North who were to blame. It was the Catholics and the nationalists, you know, who were to blame for what happened. You know, if they had just behaved themselves and not worried about civil rights and not taken to the gun, you know, that everything would have been fine. And, you know, completely ignoring the realities of soldiers just coming in and machine gunning people to death and then walking away. I mean, Robert McClellan.
And that's it. You see, there's a lot of that, and again, there was that poll the other week, and it was high. You know, it was in favour. It was 60-something% in favour of United Ireland, no matter what, and sort of fell when people were when people were asked would they be prepared to see their taxes go up. A bit of a non-question for me, to be honest with you. But that's what the whole Shared Ireland project is about. We're trying to have this conversation. What is a United Ireland going to look like in the future? It's not the North absorbing the South absorbing the North. It's going to be a new thing. And there's absolutely no reason taxes should go up. We can go through it. That's been completely debunked, that whole bloody argument anyway. But yeah, so there we go. In fact, I've debunked it more than once on this podcast. So, but there we go. So, what do you think of that video? Was that good? I like that. So we'll move on to the podcast, my podcast year in review. So, the G7. The next one's G7 Japanese cinema funk. Yeah. So I showed you some Japanese cinema funk, and it was class. And I showed you a playlist, and you should go and download it. So if you want to go and find out where that playlist is, go on to my YouTube channel, and halfway down the front page, says stream 6 months ago. You'll see the Japanese cinema funk, and the playlist will be in there. And then the G7 we're meeting. So I was obviously talking about that. So next one, Matt Hancock responds to being labelled pointless. The health secretary at the time since got sacked because he couldn't keep his hands off his aides, or an aide, I should say. Oh, it got a bit hot in here. Let me turn the heat down. Give us a sec. So we're up to 5 months ago. The DUP, who is Jeffrey? So the DUP have obviously, by then, they've booted the erstwhile Edwin Poots out. Honest to God, the man would make a fucking Victorian dentist, quaking his boots. The DUP, who is Jeffrey, and some other shit. So the DUP got rid of Edwin Poots as the leader, and they've replaced him with Jeffrey Donaldson. Jeffrey Donaldson, since then, all he's done is threaten to destroy the institutions that are placed in Northern Ireland, that keep the place running, sort of. And he's threatened to bring them down. But he won't do it because as it was then, Stormont, which is where we have our parliament, is the only power base that the DUP have. Because as we know, the DUP stomped around the Houses of Parliament in England, being the Tory party's best friends for 2 years, got absolutely nothing for it, and then got shafted. Now they've only got Stormont left, so if they do bring Stormont down, they literally don't have anything to say or do. They'll never be heard from again. And they're the best thing that's ever happened for United Ireland. There's no doubt about that. So the next one, the Northern Ireland Protocol isn't like the Vichy government, it turns out. So someone called the Northern Ireland Protocol like the Vichy regime. I can't remember who that was. Was it Sammy Wilson? That sounds like something he would say, except I don't think he'd know who the Vichy regime were. But there was that. So the next one, I was joined by comedian Darren Matthews, and that was class. Really enjoyed talking with Darren, as I did with Mick. And then I had one more after that, and then I knocked it on the head. doing guests. Can you remember? Can you remember why and who I was talking to? You won't find it. You won't find it on my YouTube page because I'm so embarrassed. I had to take it down. Sorry, just let me do this here. So, if you don't know what happened, I interviewed Darren Matthews and I interviewed Mick Conn from the String Ninjas, and we had great chats. And then I says, because I'm a political guy, obviously, I want to talk with a political person. And my friend Pete put me in touch with Jerry Carroll from People Before Profit. Can you remember? And we did I did a great interview. I loved it. I loved talking to him. He was so generous with his time. That man is a saint. And he gave me an hour, and then he had to head out to go and help somebody. And of course, Andy fucked up the tech, didn't he? Yes, he did. Fucking halfwit. So everyone could hear me talking, but couldn't hear Jerry talking. And I was so fucking upset because it was probably my favourite live stream ever. And I thought I said, oh, this is great. This is going to be a new thing for me now. I'm going to start doing this. This is going to be my thing every week rather than me just talking by myself, which is boring, let's face it. And I fucked it up. And Jerry was lovely about it because he's a decent spud. And he said, anytime, don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. Get me again. I've been terrified to fucking get him. I was like, it's not, do you know what it is? If something breaks and you know why it broke, or if something doesn't work and you know why it doesn't work, I still don't fucking know what went wrong. So, I could, this man, he's too busy to give me an hour of his day. Fucking nightmare. So, onwards. Imperialism, Vosh, and Goblin's Fingers. So Goblin's Fingers, that was a Celtic-y thing. That was a plant. What was that? I can't remember. Imperialism, my favourite subject. Vosh, fucking shitlib YouTuber. Then the next one was Mick Conlon. And then the next one after that was Jeff Bezos' space dick. Cuba, and some other shit. I think this was the thing with Cuba had either probably done something fantastic for the rest of the world as usual. And Jeff Bezos' big space cock going up into space like the big fucking asshat that he is. He shouldn't be allowed. There should be no such thing as a billionaire. I'm sorry, people. If you disagree, I don't give a shit. I think you've fucking been... If you disagree with that, I think you've had the propaganda. You've took the red pill, I'm afraid. There should be no such thing as a billionaire. No such thing. No one needs that money. After a certain amount of money, you can't spend it anyway. No one earns it. No one needs it. So what do you mean no one earns it, Andy? How can you earn £1 billion? You earn it on the back of someone else's labour. This is basic Marxism. A billionaire is an extreme capitalist. Extreme capitalist. And these fucking psychos, the Bill Gateses and the Jeff Bezos and the, what do you call that other, Elon Musk. These people are fucking mental. They have a mental disorder. I genuinely believe they have a mental disorder. How could you wake up in the morning with 200 billion? Do you know what that is? Do you know that's like 1,000 million times 200? Actually, or is it? Hold on. I'm actually going to have to Google this because I'm not absolutely certain. Let me just check this out. How many thousands? No. How many millions is $1 billion? There we go. There we go. What is $1 billion? Oh, for fuck's sake. PDF. I just want someone to tell me. Right. How many millions is 1 billion? $1 billion is 1,000 million. $1 billion is 1,000 million. So think about that. A 1,000,000,000 is a billion. These dudes are worth 200 billion plus. So they have 201,000 millions. They'll never spend this money as long as they live, and every penny of it was earned through exploitation. Maybe somebody had a good idea once. It doesn't mean you get to own the world forever. Fuck that. So, on to the next one. Don't like billionaires. Can you guess? I read a great tweet. Somebody said, okay, no more billionaires. You get to make a certain amount of money. Let's say 100. You get to make 100 million. Once you get to 100 million, you get to say you won capitalism, and we name a dog park after you. Absolutely right. Absolutely fucking right. In fact, a whole lot less than 100 million. But there you go. So next one, Death from Above and Irish Vampires. So the Irish Vampires, I remember this was about Abertacht. Remember him? With the Bonnevilles, we got our song into that film. And I read you told you a little bit about where the Irish Vampire thing came from. And Death from Above might have been drones. Sounds drony. Drones in Afghanistan. Yes, that sounds like that. The next one, it was the anniversary of Roger Casement's death at the time, I seem to remember. So it was Roger Casement jailing protesters. So it told you who was Roger Casement. Told you a little bit about him. Fascinating character. He did so much more. We here in Ireland, obviously, we remember Casement Park. There's now a great statue down outside Dublin, I believe, of the man. But one of the things that most people don't realise, and I did explain it in the pod, Roger Casement was the guy that exposed the horrors of colonialism. And for that alone, never mind what he did here in Ireland or what he attempted to do here in Ireland, taking part in the 16 Revolution and being a revolutionary, what he did in the exposing of the crimes of in the Belgian Congo, and then he went to South America and exposed the same, not to the same extent, but basically the same thing in South America, in the British and Spanish colonies. He exposed those, and then Joseph Conrad was a Belgian, yes, Belgian or Dutch author, writer, and he wrote the book The Heart of Darkness about they were two journalists about their experiences in the Belgian Congo and the horrors that they saw. And that Heart of Darkness then went on to be that film Apocalypse Now, Marlon Brando and Martin Sheen. Remember that? So that's what that was about. So Roger Casement, I mean, he was Sir Roger Casement. He had that taken from him after he tried to overthrow the establishment that betitled him. But so he was a fantastic man. I have a great graphic novel with him, about him. It's really, really good. I love it. But anyway, so then the next one was rewilding, and there was some dude, some landowner, I think a wealthy guy, maybe inherited a lot of land, and he's rewilding parts of his estate in the south. Then I think I was down in Meath, I think. Fair play to him. I'd love to know how he got on. Maybe chase that one up. The next one was Afghanistan. That's about the troop withdrawal from Afghanistan that was going on at the time, almost overnight. Glib haircuts. So the glib haircuts was the haircuts, the fringe that the dudes could hide behind. The old Irish haircut. It was called a glib haircut. Rather cool. Next one was hurling, Taoism, puckas, and some other shit. Hurling, I don't know what I was talking about hurling. Oh, I was telling you about the Statutes of Limerick, I think it was. Or was it the Statutes of Galway? And they basically tried to ban hurling because the lords and the English lords and whatever were getting enamoured by this with the sport and taking part in it, and they ended up giving some dude 60 lashes because he played hurling with some locals. It was a bit sour-faced. And then Taoism, which I was calling Taoism at the time because I was so ignorant of it. I still am. I don't know much more, but I like that. I like that Taoism. I do read a little bit about that and listen to some videos every now and again. And pukas. So there's the Aidan Hart is the artist that made the statue, the puka of Ennistamon, which is supposed to go in down County Clare, and the local people basically were horrified by it. It was actually denounced from the altar by the parish priest and he called it demonic and all this sort of stuff, and now it's become a big sort of national pastime, seeing what's going to happen with the puka of Ennistamon. And lots of other parishes and councils and across the country have stepped up to offer Aidan a place for his statue. But he was talking with me the other day, and on Twitter he DM'd me, sent me some stuff. Some people made some rather a music video about some people from Ennistamon about their how they don't like the statue, which I fucking love. I think it's the best thing ever. But he was telling me that the council have been promising a resolution to the problem soon, but he sort of needs it soon because there's money to be paid. There's money been paid out to get like 20 grand to get that thing cast, and somebody needs settled, or it is settled and whatever. But so I can't wait to see what happens with it. I think if he ended up if they ended up screwing him and he couldn't get reimbursed and whatever and get it rehoused, I think I would start a GoFundMe for him to get that covered, and then see where we can get the statue put. Love to see it up in the north. That'd be class, wouldn't it? Love to see it in Lurgan. No, they wouldn't put it in Lurgan. Can you imagine? So, right. So I'm going to play you another little video. So this is one, Bonnie Greer. I played this in one of my pods before, but I'm going to play it again because it's just too cool. Check it out.
Oftentimes I hear people talking about Ireland as if this country owns Ireland. Ireland owes this country nothing. Ireland owes this country no concessions. It owes it no quarter. It owes it nothing. The third thing that I would add too is that the Good Friday Agreement, in spite of its rather benign name, the Good Friday Agreement is a truce. And it's a truce because the United States of America and the EU sat down with this country to make it happen. We have to be much more serious about this. And the third thing I want to say is that the United States is Irish. And if anybody thinks that they're going to get a deal through and have a trade relationship with the United States that shafts Ireland, you got another thing coming. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm from Chicago. That's where I was born. And you know what we do on St. Patrick's Day? We dye the river green. People are very serious about Ireland and the United States. Don't mess with it. Don't make it look bad.
So there's Bonnie Greer. I was on Question Time a couple of years back, and I loved that. It's great. It's good that a voice that someone that has a voice can go into, and this is in Question Time in England, can go into that TV show and really just say it like it is, because here, where from my perspective, where I live, from me looking out, there's definitely a sense of, you know, that English superiority thing, sadly, and not all English people, I know this. I wouldn't mean to suggest anything like that. But yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see someone has your corner as well. Oh, I tell you what I wanted to play. So we were the Afghanistan. So I had this little video teed up. I wonder, do I have it? I do. So I had this little video teed up, and I didn't get to play it. So it's Tony Benn. Remember him? Great man. Check this out.
An easy thing to talk about. There are not many people of the generation that remember it. The right honourable gentleman served with distinction in the last war. I never killed anyone, but I wore uniform. But I was in London in the Blitz in 1940, living in the Millbank Tower where I was born. Some different ideas have come in since. And every night...
You got to remember, this is Tony Benn talking about... And look who's sitting behind him, it's Jeremy Corbyn. This is Tony Benn talking about the mistake that is about to be made with the invasion of Afghanistan.
Went down to the shelter in Thames House. Every morning I saw Dockland burning. 500 people were killed in Westminster one night by a landmine. It was terrifying. Aren't Arabs terrified? Aren't Iraqis terrified? Don't Arab and Iraqi women weep when their children die? Doesn't bombing strengthen their determination? What fools we are to live in a generation for which war is a computer game for our children and just an interesting little Channel 4 news item. Every member of Parliament tonight who votes for the government motion will be consciously and deliberately accepting the responsibility for the deaths of innocent people if the war begins, as I fear it will. Now, that's for their decision to take. But this is a quite unique debate in my parliamentary experience, where we're asked to share responsibility for a decision we won't really be taking, with consequences for people who have no part to play in the brutality of the regime which we are dealing with. And I finish with this. On October the 24th, 1945, and the former Prime Minister from Bexley, Old Sidcup, will remember it, the United Nations Charter was passed. And the words of that charter etched into my mind and move me even as I think of them. We, the peoples of the United Nations, determined to save future generations, succeeding generations, from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime has caused untold suffering to mankind. That was the pledge of that generation to this generation, and it would be the greatest betrayal of all if we voted to abandon the Charter and take unilateral action and pretend we were doing it in the name of the international community. And I shall vote against the motion for the reasons that I've given the House.
So there we go. And was he proven right? Of course he was proven right. Was I right? Yes. Were you probably right? I guess. Yes, you were. And what happened to the people that were wrong? Nothing. There are never any consequences. It is staggering. It is beyond belief that the people that are constantly wrong are still in power. The people that are constantly, obviously fucking everything up, and here in the north is the DUP. They're just wrong. Everything they say is wrong. They're just wrong. Still there. So that was Tony Benn. I wanted to share that with you, and I didn't get a chance to. And it's prescient. And all the people that were always right, if they're still in politics, you know, that'd be amazing. So we'll push on. So, yeah. So we got on up. So we got through. Just going to bang through these. Jeffrey Donald. So Michael D. Higgins. Oh, yeah. I'll play you the Michael D. Higgins one. So there's a great little video of Michael D. Higgins here. Michael D. So if you don't know who Michael D. Higgins is, he's the President of Ireland. That device. Delete that. And he's a great man. He's a poet. Michael D. Sorry, I'll have to tee it up here. Where is it? And he gets, as all good poets should, Just get wound up.
Because those on the minimum wage know where every cent goes. They know how every cent is accounted for, and they're forced to spend it all, not on luxuries, but to survive. On the other hand, those are...
So this was him talking about the government was voting to not increase benefits or to take money off people that were on benefits. So I did a video. I was probably the reason I have this video was because I probably wanted to show you it and I forgot. So here we go.
Because those on the minimum wage know where every cent goes. They know how every cent...
They were voting to raise the minimum wage.
...is accounted for, and they're forced to spend it all, not on luxuries, but to survive. On the other hand, those at the very top, for whom this government and the Greens refuse to put a separate rate of tax, they do not spend all of their income. They are the people who are enjoying the 11 billion in tax escapes for the last several years. Why not start there? Now, I say that among the speeches I heard in support of this motion, the one that I am attracted to is the concept of the social floor. We regularly insult language by saying we live in a republic. We do not, because if you had any version of citizenship, you would say that there should be a floor below which nobody would be allowed to fall, be it in relation to health or housing. And Amartya Sen, for example, the Nobel Prize winner in economics, he has said, the test of your citizenship is your ability to participate in society without shame. That's what the minimum wage is about. It is about the right of people to be able to go about...
Did you hear that? Listen to that again. That's a great line.
Prize winner in economics. He has said, the test of your citizenship is your ability to participate in society without shame. That's what the minimum wage is about.
The test of your citizenship is your ability to partake in society without shame. What a great line.
About the right of people to be able to go about the ordinary things that you should be able to do in a free and decent society, be it in terms of education or health or housing or whatever. And what's more, those who cut the income of those on the minimum wage, you are visiting poverty on their children. And I say this is a disgrace, because you are, the words are like ashes in your mouth when you say, treat all the children of the nation equally. How can a mother treat her child the same as everybody else when she loses €40 a week out of her minimum, out of her basic wages? And who are these people? 60% of whom are women. There are people, yes, working in the hospitality sector, working in the retail sector, and many of them are migrants, people we have humiliated enough. And they are also, of course, in that grey and dark area of the home care industry. So it is a myth, the myth of the minimum wage, that is stopping Ireland coming out of recovery. How dare you make such an assertion? Not one, I say it as somebody who has dealt with social statistics all his life, not one jot of evidence, because those on the minimum wage know...
Great speech from Michael D. He's well loved here in Ireland. I will say this about the minimum wage. Chris Rock has a great line about the minimum wage. The minimum wage is your boss's way of saying, if I could pay you less, I would. Interesting and true. And I'm reminded, when I think about the minimum wage, I'm thinking about, remember we all stood out in the steps and clapped during the COVID thing? A lot of it wasn't just for the NHS and for the nurses and the doctors, and they all deserve that, absolutely. It was for the essential workers. So that was the people that were literally keeping the food on the supermarket shelves and putting themselves in mortal danger to do so. That's what I'm doing now, by the way. A part of that, I'm delivering things. People that were bringing packages to your door, that's kind of what I'm doing. And I'm not getting paid much above the minimum wage. You know? And what was it all about? If you're not getting paid, if you didn't get a pay, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit, people. So there we go. Right. Next one was Unionists Unite. The Celtics, remember that? The Celtics videos? Oh, fuck, it was tragic. And Kung Fu Panda. And the Kung Fu Panda one was... it was an article about the Chinese government being taken with that movie, Kung Fu Panda. And how well it represented their ancient cultures. And they were saying, why can't we do that? You know, it's good. Unionists Unite. I don't know specifically what that... Oh, let me see the... No, I can't remember. Pandora Papers, Irish Hell Caves. They were cool. The Gates to Hell. This was around Samhain, Halloween. The Pandora Papers. Rich people hiding their money again. Before that, it was the Panama Papers, etc., etc. These leaks are constantly being spewed out. And what happens? Absolutely nothing. I was listening to a podcast today. I think I'm about to sneeze. And they were talking about the next thing in the food industry is going to be... they're going to be putting insects. You'd be making food out of insects. So, you know, burgers and like they've got Fakey Bakey and Impossible Burgers and all these sorts of things made from plant material, and mostly the bad fats from coconuts and things like that. Very unhealthy. So the next sort of evolution of that, the thinking is going to be, well, there's people doing it already, is insects. So they're going to be making food from insects. And everyone sort of, you instantly recoil. So they're going to use what they call fruit fly larvae, commonly known as a maggot. That's what a maggot is, right? And other particular types of insects. And they're going to make fake chicken nuggets, so they're going to make fake... there was one for tuna. They're trying to make fake tuna and all this sort of thing. And you instantly recoil. You go, ugh, I'm not going to... Ugh, no one will ever... You'll never catch me put that in my mouth. Well, first of all, you probably have already. Because the amount of insects that actually go into processed food just from falling in is... They say it's quite high. Fecal matter involved in processed meats, apparently it's quite high. But here's the thing that we definitely do know. Can you remember pink slime? Remember they made the chicken nuggets and the sausages and the burgers in like a McDonald's and these places, and it was they call it like a meat, processed meat paste, and at the end of it, they call it pink slime. Can you remember that from a few years ago? Right? You remember it? All those places closed down, didn't they? All the McDonald's and the Burger Kings and all the processed foods, the people that make all, they all closed. We never heard from them again. Not a bit of it. Nothing happened. Fucking nothing happened. It's exactly the same with these Pandora Papers things. Everyone gets outraged and then nothing happens. It's going to be this. It's the same with everything. Like the minute with the Tory government, there's maybe one scandal too many for old BJ himself, but normally that's the way things are. People got all disgusted by the thought of pink slime, and then the next day went and got a McDonald's or ordered a takeaway or had a cheap sausage in a bap out of a petrol station. You know? You gotta think about things like that. That's why I'm here. So, the next one, and I'm going to play you a video that I actually had teed up for this episode, or for this podcast, and I didn't fucking play it. And it's Julian Assange, naked sweat houses. Remember those? They found, I think it was particularly down Leitrim, I think it was. There's a proliferation of stone mounds, and they were used as sweat houses. I think we should go back to that. I'd love that. The sweat house made of stone and you go in and that would be class. But Julian Assange, so the CIA had war-gamed assassinating him in the streets of London. wait till you hear. So here's a video that Julian Assange, this is from when he was either going to, I don't know if he was in the Bolivian, when he was holed up in the Bolivian embassy or not. But anyway, this is why they want him. Because he knows, and he told us. Right here.
Because the goal is not to completely subjugate Afghanistan. The goal is to use Afghanistan to wash money out of the tax bases of the United States, out of the tax bases of European countries, through Afghanistan and back into the hands of a transnational security elite. That is the goal, i.e. the goal is to have an endless war, not a successful war. Because the goal is not to completely...
I'm going to let that play again. I'll put it on full screen. The goal is not to win the war. The goal is to have endless war. Who warns us of this? George Orwell warns us of this. Endless war. War is the point. The end of the war, winning the war, defeating your enemy is not the fucking point. It's endless war. They were in Afghanistan for 20 years. It is to wash tax money of the taxpayers from the USA, UK, and other European Western countries. Wash that tax money through the filter of Afghanistan into the pockets of these unbelievably greedy and cruel people. I'm going to play it again. It is staggering, and you know what else is staggering? Staggering that I forgot to play it when I had an episode of The Man on. Check this out.
Because the goal is not to completely subjugate Afghanistan. The goal is to use Afghanistan to wash money out of the tax bases of the United States, out of the tax bases of European countries, through Afghanistan and back into the hands of a transnational security elite. That is the goal, i.e. the goal is to have an endless war, not a successful war.
And if you want to know why Julian Assange is in the position that he's in, he's going to die in jail, by the way. It's because of that knowledge, that willingness to say it, which is bad enough, but they're not going to do what they're doing. It's because he shared the information with us. And that's what it is. I heard someone else put it during the week. Before WikiLeaks and before the modern era of the internet, governments could spy on us, but with WikiLeaks, we can spy back on the government. And they can't have it, and they won't fucking have it. And he's going to pay with his life. He already has paid with most of it as it is, with certainly the latter part of it. So, let me just... English nationalism and the last king of Ireland. So the last king of Ireland, yeah. Well, the last High King was Bran Baru. That means he united. He was the king of the whole island. But English nationalism, we're talking about this being a Brexit reflex. I'll play you this little video. I'll just tee it up here. Brexit is a reflex of English nationalism. And so, and it is. There's no point in saying that it isn't. It fucking is. It's not being. It's not.
And how is it? And why don't you ask yourselves in Dublin?
The king of Brexit, Nigel Farage, went on the Claire Byrne show. Claire Byrne is a broadcaster for RTE in the south of Ireland. And he got fucking rinsed. And it's great to see. So check this out.
And how is it? And why don't you ask yourselves in Dublin a question? Why did you fight the British? Why did Irish nationalists fight the British for 500 years? 500 often very bloody, difficult years until the 1920s. What was the point of it if you're now governed by European commissioners?
I think people will be entertained, Nigel, to hear you talking about this.
And that may be too inconvenient for all of you in Dublin. Oh, I'm sure. Yes, of course.
I know that you apologised for the birthday greeting which you delivered in the last couple of days, but I want people to see just how much you know about the history and culture on this island.
Now, it's a bit early in the day, so all I've got actually is coffee, but I hope you enjoy a few pints with the lads tonight. Up the Ra!
Up the Ra, Nigel. I mean, I know that you said sorry. I know you get 87 quid. It's entirely within your rights to do that. But come on, don't try and lecture the Irish people about the culture and history and precarious nature of peace on this island. You haven't got a clue.
If you want to be, do you want to be an independent democratic nation or governed by foreign bureaucrats? That's the question that Ireland will ask itself. Those of you in the national media and national policies in Dublin will fight that as hard as you can because you've all benefited financially. Do the Irish people wish to be independent or not? And that is a debate that will happen in your country in the next few years. Believe you.
I really don't know what to say about that. I mean, that to hear this isn't. I'm not having a go at the English people because I love the English people. I've got first cousins, hundreds of them. Some of my dearest friends. I love England. Some of the greatest music, literature, art. I love it. But these people and the people that are the face, the political face of us all, really is, you know, our politicians are out there, you know, out front. When we hear that accent, and I'm not being disrespectful to anyone with that accent, but when we hear that accent telling us what we're, you've no idea the DNA in my fucking bones turns green, white and orange. And it just does. And we cannot stand it to be told by the people that's, I know what that sounds like. I know, I can hear myself saying this. But to this day, every Minister of State for the North of Ireland, Northern Ireland, has that accent. And they're all incompetents. They're all fuckwits. They're all corrupt. And none of them give a shit about anyone on this island. This is just a stepping stone on their career. So when we hear that, and we know that this man he's a grifter. I mean, he's just a grifter. Brexit was a grift for him. Maybe he did believe it. I don't know. I don't care to know either. But when we hear that, it genuinely fucking it fuck you. You know, he'll never get this whole thing about Ireland leaving the European Union. It's never going to happen. It'll never fucking happen. Ireland has prospered under the European Union. Is Ireland perfect? Far from it. Is Ireland uncorrupt? Far from it. But if we're united, we can deal with the people, the political situation in Dublin. I can't do fuck all about the political scene in London. There's nothing I can do. So, yeah, there we go. God, I fucking hate that cunt. So, listen, I'm waffled on. We're near done. Next one was the Third Reich, which was the nickname lovingly given to the Tory party and their recent raft of draconian legislation that's being pushed through Parliament, the policing bill, the immigration bill. They're trying to make protest illegal, etc., etc. Samhain, so it was a Third Reich and Samhain special. The Arik movie review was the next one, which was just fucking amazing. The next one was the Berlin battle damage with my friend Peter Graham, which went down really fucking well, so we'll have to do that again. But he came into the studio here, and we sat and we had a great chat, and Pete really knows his stuff, and everyone loved it, and so they should, because it was great. And then at a bit of a hiatus, because I had to start working, whatever, music industry and witches in Ireland. That was the last one I did. So that's us right up to date. The music industry, I, basically recapped it at the start, didn't I? And then a little story about witches in Ireland, a witch in Ireland, although she wasn't an Irish witch, but she was a witch in Ireland. So there we go. So listen, I want to finish. I'm going to play this. I used to coach kids cycling, specifically mountain biking. I used to run a club and all the rest of it. And I used to get the kids to go, wata, like Bruce Lee, wata, and I'll get them wee stickers, and I'll put it on the down tube of their bikes, or the top tube of their bikes, and it was Bruce Lee going wata, and it was about that, and I would be like a finger pointing to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger, or you miss all that celestial glory. That sort of stuff, and I would hit them with that stuff. They probably thought it was half mad, but it was all true. It was all good stuff, and it says Taoist. It says Taoism stuff, and so I'm gonna finish with the man
This is
himself.
what it is, okay?
I'm going to finish with the man himself. Let him have the last word, and then let me see, where am I? Here, there we go. There's the theme up. I've had a couple of cocktails. You can hear I've still got I went and got a wee rum when the Tony Benn video was on. So listen, I want to wish you all happy Christmas, happy New Year. Hope you have a great time. See you on the flip side. Stay safe. Have fun with your family. Be in love. Be happy if you can. If you can't, try harder. And come and see the Bonnevilles whenever you can. Whenever we gig again. Fuck knows what that's going to happen. Oh, a couple of comments here. Tony G, what about you, Dad? Happy holidays, lad. Have a good one. You too, my friend. Morris McElwain, you're not politically minded. You cringe every time you say it. Yeah, absolutely. Morris, I was passing your place the other day. I should have called in. Happy Christmas to you, my friend. Okay, that's me done. I'm going to let my Lord and Master, Bruce Lee, have the last word. Bye, everyone. Love you.
This is what it is, okay? I said empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.